Kill Team, new rule set, new starting point for many people, and maybe there are more than a few of them trolling around here looking for some answers that good old GW doesn't quite make clear. What do I have to buy? Which teams are easier to start with, either for rules or the sort of one-box approach to team building? What is this classified and declassified thing, and how does it affect me? Let's try and go over as much as we can here for all of that. And if you're new to the channel and have a burning interest in strategy and skirmish tabletop games, maybe commit exterminatus against that subscribe button. Send a prayer to the Omni algorithm with a thumb. As well, we have a community Discord linked in the description below. If you feel the need to show off some projects or continue the conversation over there, we'll be happy to have you. With all that said, let's put ourselves in the shoes of new blood and venture into the realm of first purchases. And that is kind of the point of all this. It's hopefully for new players, brand new. There might be things involved that will help newer players who are already working their way towards finishing a team and playing, but for the most part, I think it's important for new people with the twang of interest overtaking them to have a bit of guidance. First up, Kill Team has gone through several iterations. Currently, we are in the 2024 update of the game. You may see a handful of older books on store shelves, Morok, Octarius, some of the annuals. Those are playable, of course. It might be hard to find the recent balance data slates for any of that, but for the most part, if you're looking for how to get in with the current setup, avoid those. So, from the perspective of not even owning dice to roll with, brand new, ready to nerd out 100%, let me introduce you to the Hivestorm box. Now, due to how Games Workshop produces products with limited reprints at this full boxed tier, you may not see these by the time you get around to looking into this overview, but let me sell you on it. Maybe you're interested in playing, but you don't really have a zeroed in team you really want to use. This box gives you two to tinker with. If you're fully new to the hobby, welcome in. Games Workshop models, as well as most terrain, is built from sprues. You will probably want some plastic glue of some kind, maybe some clippers, modeling knife. 9 times out of 10, if you're standing in a shop, the people there will be happy to steer you in the right direction there. If not, a simple search for good modeling glue and tools should cover you. And with these teams, you will get a book covering all the rules for both of them, as well as some custom maps to play on designed kind of around them. Those maps are built out of the terrain provided in the box. You won't need any more than those to simply play a game, although without them, you can still perform the classic ritual of building a map out of Legos and soup cans or whatever you have laying around. All games of this variety, of course, have rules, and those rules are in a second book that come in this box. This is the core rulebook for Kill Team 24 and is in fact complete. You may also see on the shelf a starter set for Kill Team involving some Space Marines of the Chaos and Imperial variety. That appears to not so much have the full rules. We'll talk about that in a second. A key component of Kill Team is also the tokens and order markers. There are many ways to get your hands on these. I do love my 3D printed ones, but Hivestorm also comes with a full cardboard sheet of these, enough to play for the most part. Along the way, you might pick up more, which is always good. There are also some deployable pieces of equipment that are important for laying out the kill zone in your future games. Those are here with an asterisk. Many of the models on the equipment sprue that comes in both the Hivestorm box and on its own has a bunch of representations of things that aren't really useful on the field, but also they are missing something in my opinion. Currently, for 2 players to have full access to most, if not all, options available to them in a game, you would need 4 light barricades. The set only comes with 2. It has everything else in duplicate. Regardless of whether you go with Hivestorm or a different option we may go over, if you're the only one that has access to this starting stuff, hopefully both players won't want to use light barricades. Etsy, third-party markets. Kill Team has a fairly active community exterior to it that creates incredible tools that Can be used to drastically increase your speed of play or fill in needed gaps like light barricades. Either way, Hivestorm, a set of terrain and a playboard, rulebooks for teams and the game in general, tokens, equipment, 2 playable teams. As we said, if this is a person who doesn't even own dice, you also get 10 of those. Definitely grab more. I'm certain your local game store will be happy to sell them to you. At that much, you can play basic games. Simple rules, easy enough to dip your toes in. And that's not all. When you're ready to up the ante, a full deck of approved ops. Approved ops are the competitive standard for play in Kill Team. These focus the map designs and missions for a more hardcore experience. Approved ops over time might update as seasons change, so for reference, the Hivestorm box is the first competitive season release. You may need to look into what season Kill Team is on to see if you need to grab an updated deck. All this from one box. A bit pricey for a I just want to try it out kind of thing. $230 US. Not exactly an impulse buy, which is why, if you happen to see it on the shelf, the Kill Team starter set at usually less than half feels more appealing. There's a bit of a trap though with this. You'll get the tokens, a playmat, more simplified terrain than the Hivestorm one, 2 teams that are arguably more easy to play in the current meta, less models, and a decent cushion if you make bad plays. Some dice, which is always good, but here's the thing. The rules for both the teams and the gameplay are very incomplete. This on its own is designed to really cut out a lot of the crunchiness of Kill Team to alleviate the TTDR of tabletop gaming. Time to dice rolling. It's honestly still not a bad start, but you'll need to supplement either when picking this up or maybe after if this format really captures your imagination. For one, you'll need the actual core rulebook, which is sold separately and does come with a sheet of tokens as well. 2 sheets of these between these 2 things will give you a hefty start for that. You'll also need a box of deployable equipment as well to net all of the different barricades, ladders, and barbed wire and any other options. Again though, side markets for the extra light barricades if you think you need them. And if you wish to push into the realm of competitive, you'll need to snag a deck of approved ops cards. Arguably, this approach could be a bit better later on in Kill Team's time frame, as you may need a different one from the Hivestorm box like we stated, but the need for equipment, the core rulebook, and a deck of cards will raise the price above the Hivestorm tier, and the terrain in the starter set is great for general open play, but the terrain in Hivestorm has a more focused and defined role in building a kill zone. Hopefully, the Hivestorm box lasts for a bit for new players. That and the starter box at the time of making this are 2 key ways to get into Kill Team, but maybe we get more lightweight. Maybe there is a local community you're trying to join. You want the rules for yourself, of course. You maybe want 1 team and some of the commonly needed items to play games with. Completely fresh, without anything on hand. Of course, start with dice. Buy your own. The game is played with common 6-sided dice. You shouldn't really need much more than 10 at this scale though, which is fine. A suggestion, however. Depending on the team you choose, players usually find tracking health for on-field models easy when they involve dice that equal that health quantity. Guard or Space Elves with 9 health at most, there are 10-sided dice you can purchase. Chunky Space Marines, D20s. There are third-party wound trackers you can get from around the Vox as well, up to you. As we've talked about, you can get a core rulebook, which comes with general tokens, super useful, and always a great first purchase outside of buying Hivestorm. The equipment box we talked about. As for terrain, you have so many options. A game of Kill Team is played on a single 30 by 22 board. Games Workshop does sell these separately, but so do a ton of other companies, as this size is kind of close to a standard for some. They also sell a large selection of terrain. They even have box sets for terrain types that work specifically for Kill Team, as well as other formats they might have. Beta Decima, the Gallo Dark. They'll even have a base set for Vulcus at some point, I imagine. Spend! Or, as we've talked about, random cardboard boxes lying around, empty soda cans. You could even find a simple mat to cut into the standard dimensions of a Kill Team game. That's even if you need this for yourself. Depending on your situation, your local game store or club could have their own terrain to pick from, allowing you to simply focus on the team that feels important to you. And this will all be up to your decision. There is one thing though. Let me introduce you to something you will want to be using often. The Warhammer Community Kill Team download page, a central point for team rules, updates, as well as all the collected information for all current teams. An interesting function this time around is that Games Workshop has decided that the squad rules for Kill Team will be free online, as well as on a companion app on the phone. As far as we know, that's how it's going to be going forward, completely free for that information. All upcoming teams will have their rules placed here so that you won't have to buy specific books alongside their individual box releases. Even the Plague Marines that are in the starter set, the rules that come in there don't cover a lot of what the team can actually do, but if you'd like to take them into a regular match, you can simply find those rules on the Warhammer community page. You'll also be able to browse through teams you may be going against in upcoming games or events, get to know their rules. You might notice that among these team rules, there is also a universal equipment rule sheet and a light rules sheet. The universal equipment one is important, as the only printed place for this is in the Hivestorm specific book. So if you opt out of the Hivestorm starting point, you'll need this sheet either from here, the app, or you can print it out. The light rules, to be clear, are an all-right reference sheet, but this is not at all a replacement for the core rulebook. So at this point, you can spend hours of your time poring over the teams, browsing the rules, trying to define their strategies, maybe occasionally watching one of my overview videos for them, maybe, if you want. After finding your passion, you can pick up your team. All set. Well, here's the thing for all you new players. Not all teams are made equal in their how to collect side of things. For instance, if you choose the Mandrake path, you'll find that the singular box you purchase will provide you more than the on-field units. 10 models in the box, 9 on the field. And the team makeup has limited specialists and gear loadouts. This allows the team to be fully functional out of a single box. A one-box team is the common terminology. Let's take a look at the Brood Brothers box. 10 total models, but there are a few issues. The singular commander model has 3 loadout options. There may be one that is considered optimal, but the rest might have their purposes. As well, the specialist options are much greater in number than the on-field team. To get all options you may want to use, you'll have to buy more than one box of Brood Brothers, or look into models that could represent this team that have ways to appear like some of these specialists to supplement. Team rules have this fun little symbol in the bottom right for their base size of the model. Pay attention to it when trying to supplement your forces with custom units. And of course, depending on your community, some players are fine allowing for you to simply claim a loadout is in play, so long as you remember that during the game. But the fun doesn't stop there. This team has the potential to use special units from a very short list. These models are fully sold separately from the core box of Brood Brothers you would buy. This one box can let you play, but you might find the team to be much weaker for the lack of adaptability, and this isn't uncommon. The Blades of Cain gives you way more Scorpion units than you need, but no Dire Avengers or Howling Banshees, which would complete your choices. Just starting out, you'll have to set your limit when choosing a team to how much you're willing to add as you go. Good one-box options tend to have limited specialists with more emphasis on a single warrior variant. The Mandrakes, as we stated, the Hearthkin Jaegers, the Felgor. There have even been teams that are explicit in their lack of adaptability. The Gellerpox. Although they bring us into something you should at least be informed of just in case your goals in Kill Team are aimed at larger competitive scenes. And that's not to say you have to be focused on that, no. But if you're planning out your purchase for maximum impact in a competitive setting, you need to be aware of what Games Workshop has talked about with its plan for yearly team rotations. This list popped up when the Kill Team 2024 reboot was announced. The top is filled with teams that were released in the prior version's Season 1. and those teams are set to be rotated out of competitive play after a year of the current rules. As of putting all this together, teams like the Warp Coven and the Legionary are currently dominating the comp scene. Players are finding ways to crack the elite shell at times, but for the most part, the armor-clad warriors are seeing a lot of use and a lot of victories. Most of them are only marked to be around for a year. Now, supposedly they will still receive rules updates after that year, potentially just wording fixes, but also possible balance changes. Maybe nothing major, but maybe not, still unclear. The idea is that, at least for potential tournament play, teams will have a 3-year timer attached to them on release, just about. Could be longer, could be shorter, based on balance needs. But if your local community is just a bunch of friendly nerds rolling dice in a local game store or a friend's house or local club, does that even matter? In that situation, if you really like the Commandos or the Corsairs, keep playing them as the seasons progress. But if you are aiming to master a team on a global stage, decisions must be made. Maybe leaning into the teams from the Beta Decima arc of the last iteration should be your focus, most of whom we've pointed out: Mandrakes, Jaegers, Blades of Cain, Brood Brothers. There are also the Scouts and Nemesis Claw. The Chaos Cults and Inquisitorial Agents might also be included in this. They were kind of a mid-season, and the recent Angels of Death, Plague Marines, Vespid, and Aquilans should last even longer. The upcoming Ratlings and Tank Busters, as well as all the teams released in this opening season of Kill Team 24. If any of those strike your fancy, it might be worth diving in. Most Games Workshop games remain in a state of flux throughout their lives. Rules have massive swings, so if the Scouts seem underpowered now, mastering them could lead to solid victories in the near future as metas shift. It's always been a key thing in our local club. Play what excites you. Chasing metas will always end with you having a ton of teams that were meta at one point, but no more. Alternatively, you can carve a path that makes your underdog choice you love a force to be reckoned with by all. So, a few options. The Hivestorm approach that gives you 2 teams to test out and pretty much everything you need from the start. The starter set with some good basic structure, but a bit of required pickups to truly dive into the full game. Or the one-off approach of just picking up a team and being ready to hop into playing at a moment's notice. 3 options to connect to the plastic addiction we all struggle with daily. And going forward, pay attention to the seasonal box sets that release. They always tend to be slightly worth it compared to buying everything separately, although they tend to still require the common set of core rules, seasonal approved cards, and deployable equipment to make them work in general. But still, hopefully something here has helped you in your quest to find a base level of connection to Kill Team. Some way of carving out a path that will begin your journey worshipping at the altar of the dice gods. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below, or even join our Discord community and talk to like-minded wargames nerds who tend to be all too willing to help. As always, likes for the like god and subscribes for the subscribe throne. I am Kimmerix, and I'll see you in the next one.